Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your host, Tallie Spencer. You're watching BlackStream Live. I'm here with my guest, Ant Clemons, today. He is a multi-talented singer, songwriter, producer, Grammy nominee. His debut EP was nominated for Best R&B Album at the Grammys, so that's huge. He's worked with everybody from Ty Dolla $ign to Kanye West to Beyonce. The list goes on. So thank you so much, Ant, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You know, just to kind of jump right into things, like before you got to where you are now, you know, singer, songwriter, producer, you've done a lot. But when was the moment that you first knew that you wanted to be an artist?
Great question. I feel like when I first saw Michael Jackson, like I was 2 years old, and it's like one of my first memories is being in like a cart getting pushed around BJ's warehouse with like my parents. And it was the History Volume 1, like the whole anthology of like all of his hits. And we had brought it home, and I remember wearing that VHS out like from 2 to about like 9 or 10, and then I had to get another one because it was like messed up. Okay. But I always wanted to like just be Michael Jackson. I was like, I want to do that. Like whatever that is, I want to do that.
Right. Michael Jackson. That's a dope influence considering he's somebody that, you know, does a lot as well. What's like your favorite Michael Jackson song?
It depends on the day. Like today is Billie Jean just because of the bass line. Okay. But it depends on the day.
One of my favorites. I love Michael Jackson. So was that like something that happened a lot in your household, you know, playing music, growing up dancing to music, watching it?
My parents were always singing. Like, my mom wasn't the best singer, but she'd always sing. She was way better of a dancer. And my dad couldn't really dance as well, but he'd always dance too. So it was just laughter, singing, dancing all the time. My sisters and I would put shows on for my parents, and like I would be like the singer, and then we switch it, and my younger sister Ashley would be like the lead singer, then Amber, the middle sister, would be the lead singer.
So y'all were like the Jackson 5,
little Jackson 5, but the Jackson 3, yeah. And I was always just upset that I was the firstborn because Michael was like the 5th or 6th boy of 9, I think, and it's like, I was like, I'm not Michael.
But it's okay. I mean, you were Michael in the sense of like the talent. You wanted to perform.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So are your siblings and your family, do they all have a musical background?
Everybody believes that they do. Like singing with myself. Like we kind of grew up singing in church, but it wasn't like the thing. We didn't like super practice to be just singers. It was just the thing that we loved to do. My parents kept us in every one of the musicals that were going on in our town. So Willingboro has like a whole bunch of different plays, like Heritage Players, and we were part of that. We were part of like Showstoppers and Willingboro Idol. It was like all these amazing performances that were getting us ready. Summer Arts Journey, SAJ. Like we used to do that as opposed to, I was in some sports camps and stuff, but it was more like the performing arts camps growing up. So my parents were always the super supportive parents. My mom's front row, my dad's in the back with the camcorder. Like it was an amazing foundation to be whoever I wanted to be.
Right. I love that. I love that. So I know with, you know, traditional music backgrounds or wanting to pursue a career in this industry, a lot of parents are kind of like, I don't know, like, how are you going to make money?
Right.
How are you going to do that? It's a very hard, you know, journey to ultimately go on. What do you feel like for you made it worth it or made you want to really like commit yourself to it?
Well, it was that support system. Like I didn't have the story thing, like luckily, and honestly, thank God that my path wasn't like my family was hard on me and not really supportive. I had nothing but a support team. Like I had a conversation with my dad before I moved because he wasn't really sure as to how far I was in my journey because I like to keep the type of person I was more of a shower as opposed to a teller. So I didn't want to tell everyone, this is what I'm doing. I'm about to do this and this is what I'm doing. I'd rather show and say, hey, this is what I did. And I'd rather show my dad a collection of songs that are out than say, hey, I'm working on records and I'm doing this. I wanted to show him proof so that him and myself at the same time, that's like, this is what I want to do. And I kind of touched on it a little bit in Story of My Life, the song I just put out. And it was not even in a space of like me calling my dad out like he didn't support me. It was just like I care about my child and this is what I've known my entire life. So I don't know what world you're getting ready to step into, and are you prepared for walking into the unknown? And with God by my side, and their amazing foundation I can't lose.
Wow. I love that. That's very, deep and personal to you. You have an interesting journey in the foundational stages, how you got to where you were. From what I know about you, you're flying back and forth to LA. You were serving tables at Red Lobster. You were like sleeping on your friend's floor, writing songs to pay rent.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that journey and how you ultimately got here to LA.
It was the story that I didn't know I was destined to be a part of. The one I was always looking for that kind of just unraveled as I allowed it to just happen. When I was back home and I would study Drake and study J. Cole and study like all of these amazing like rappers and Kendrick and Big Sean, they all had this moment in their journey where they met someone that got them to where they needed to be. Not someone that put them on per se, but just someone that was in their path that got them to the next space. Drake had Jazz Prince, who introduced him to Lil Wayne. It was J. Cole moving from North Carolina to New York and standing outside trying to give Jay-Z the beat tape. And then it's like him working it and figuring it out to inevitably be signed to Roc Nation. Kendrick growing up and working with TDE and that actually being like a real family and a conglomerate of people that really cared about the passion.
Right.
And Big Sean, an amazing rapper that was 17 or at the time or 19, I don't want to mess up the age, but rapping at a radio station and just so happened to get the call because of, his talent. Hey, Kanye's up here, come rap. And no one told him to come rap for Kanye, but it's like, yo, come up here. And he gets up there and he sees his opportunity. So for myself, I never really, as a artist wannabe in my head, I'm like, I want to be an artist. I didn't feel like I had a story that was worth telling. So my perspective was kind of like, well, let me help tell some of my friends and favorite people's stories so that I can kind of gauge what a story should sound like, what good storytelling is. Right. And as I'm learning how to songwrite and as I'm making relationships, I'm finding that my story is being written as it's happening. So the moment of like, where's my this to this? Oh, well, what I did yesterday became that step to get me a little closer to the dream I've always had.
Right.
So it's been very, very interesting. And I'm nothing but completely grateful for my mom and my dad and my sisters, but really my mom calling me and telling me, listen, as your landlord, I love you. As you're my son, I love you. But as your landlord, I'm kicking you out, because you're taking my rent money and going to LA. So go to LA for a year. Try it out, see what you can do, see what happens, and you got my full support, and figure it out.
Okay.
And with that, it was kind of like, well, I don't want to ever come back home. I don't want to have to call my mom and say I need help. So there would be times where I needed a lot, and then my pride would just never allow me to, call. But my relationship with God got a lot stronger because a lot of the things I thought I wanted and needed, God was walking with me, and I was able to change my conversation from being, I want money.
Right.
Well, what is the thing that I need the money for? So I started asking God for that as opposed to asking for money because I found that I wasn't the best with money. I didn't manage my money or manage my time correctly. So I've been learning how to manage the best way I possibly can by not having to do it all by myself.
Right.
Asking God for help and guidance with everything that I do.
So it was kind of a blessing then in disguise that your parents kind of told you to move
go
out,
ahead and
go
do it.
figure it out. So did you know anyone in LA? I know you were sleeping on your friends' floors.
A few people,
like what?
Not anyone, not family enough to just go. I had a couple of friends and amazing family that was just out here doing their own thing. And on my trips back and forth, I came out with my sister Shamika, one of my favorite people in the world. Not actual sister, but soul sister. That's my girl. And she was one of my first mentors in songwriting. And we were working in Philly, and it was like, let's go to LA and see what's out there. If the music industry is out there, let's go figure it out. And our trips were amazing because I didn't even know that this place existed and all the talent and all the opportunity. On my last trip coming back here, I ran into my brothers Ali, Scott and Dre. They were Triangle Park, this production group from
And
Philly.
what year estimate is this?
This is 2016. I was going back and forth, but 2017. It's like early 2017. I had moved out. This is February 2017.
Got you. So this is before everything kind of
Before
started.
I did anything, moved anywhere.
Right.
I was trying to figure out where I would stay, and my friend Avery, one of my brothers, his sister, allowed me to stay at her house in downtown. Ashley, she's amazing. And from there, I realized that downtown LA wasn't the place I needed to be because it was kind of far away from all the sessions and where stuff was happening. So I was staying at her house and then catching a bus to catch a train to get to North Hollywood sit in the Starbucks and just wait for an opportunity to either hit my phone or someone to just walk past. And kind of aimlessly walking and trying to figure out, but then I find the way God works is amazing. The place that I would travel to just sit at the Starbucks is around the corner from where my apartment's at now. So it's like, I didn't even know I was finding where I was getting ready to be.
Were there times? Sorry to cut you off.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, were there times where you ever felt, discouraged by it? Because coming out here, the land of opportunities, people come here, to chase dreams. There's a lot of hustlers. There's a lot of people who also want to be in the industry. And given, your background and starting from scratch, were there times that you ever felt like, I don't know, if this is for me? And if you ever felt discouraged, like what kept you going?
Absolutely. I think any and everyone has had thoughts and doubts whisper in their ear. It depends on who you choose to listen to. Like those things that were keeping me in a negative place or negative thoughts were kind of not truths. They're fears, and you address fears as such. Like they're real, but it's kind of like, I don't want to put myself in the place of dealing with the fear of whatever it is that I'm afraid might not work out. I'd rather take my bet and try and see the possibilities of what might actually happen as opposed to the fear keeping me from becoming who God called me to be.
Yeah.
And I realized at those times of disappointment and discouragement, it wasn't about me. My story is not about me at all. And that's what makes it cool. Like my story is for someone else. It's not for just me. So the things that I go through, I'm tasked and blessed with the responsibility to share them because they're not for me. I had an amazing conversation with one of my mentors, Tony Dixon. And he said, remember that none of this stuff is for you. And God does nothing to you, but everything for you. So it's like, those kind of thoughts helped me along the way but every day, you'll have thoughts that come in and say, oh, maybe you're not as attractive as you feel. Maybe you're not as something as you whatever. Those thoughts you don't have to listen to. You can choose to shift your perspective.
That's a dope mindset to have. And I think it takes a lot of wisdom really to be able to think that way because it's very easy to get discouraged. It's very easy, especially, when things are kind of moving slow. But like you said, you had a plan where you trusted God's plan for you and you were on the path that you were meant to be on. So fast forward, you met a few people who made some introductions for you. You ended up landing a placement on Kanye's album. Talk to me about how that all happened. How did that all unfold?
All of it was God. Like every step was God. So from me meeting Scott and Ali and Dre, them allowing me to stay at their house, I was sleeping on their floor for a song a day. And you can't even ask for something like that.
How does that work? Like
they were a production group. They're amazing. And they needed a songwriter.
Oh.
And I needed a place to stay. So they're like, we have a floor. And I said, I have a song. So every day I needed a spot to stay at. They just required me to write a song. And that's getting me better. That's getting them better. That's getting us better. We're in a close space. So now it's 4 guys living in a small 2-bedroom apartment. You have to get along. You have to figure it out. You got to make it make sense. And me being the guy that's not paying any physical bills, I'm trying to at least bring something to the house that's like, hey, y'all, I know y'all held me down, but here, this is this opportunity.
Exactly. So were the songs that you were writing, were they getting placed? Were they being used?
We were working on trying to get them placed, but at that time, we didn't have all the relationships at the time. Triangle Park were signed to an amazing management group, Star Island. I love them. Those are like some of the guys that shaped me just who I am today. Donnie Meadows and Chase Fairbanks. Love them. But at the time, it was just like we were still all developing our sounds. So they're so good at what they do as far as not exposing our flaws too early that they didn't want to, put them out or put us out in a space where we weren't ready. So it was a cool training ground. It felt like it was artist development, songwriting development, and all of it in one, just trying to figure out what we wanted to do and if we could make it out of this little apartment in this big town.
Right. Okay.
Big, small town.
Right. So with, that being said, there was a lot of months in the works for that, a lot of long days, I'm sure, putting in those songs. Tell me about what day your life changed.
June 1st. So with working with Triangle Park, I had ran into my brother, Ray. And Ray Keys, he introduces me to my brother Bongo, by the way. Mm-hmm. And Bongo brings me to Jeremiah's house. And through all of these amazing people, we're building brotherhoods, we're working on records, we're figuring it out. And we all had worked on just an idea called Pootie Tang based on the movie. Mm-hmm. And sent it over to Kanye, because I didn't even know that Kanye was working on stuff. Jeremiah was just sending stuff over. And he gets a call to come down to Wyoming. He goes down there. And I get a call a week and a half later that's like, hey, Kanye messing with that song. I'm like, what song? He's like, Pootie Tang. I'm like, no, he's not. He's like, yo, send a session. I'm like, all right, here's a session, whatever, right? Fast forward to May 31st. Down to my last $10. I'm with an amazing artist, Amal. Like, she's the best. And we were just trying to figure out, we were coming from her session, but just trying to figure out our next time getting ready to work, but she was getting ready to leave LA. And I was like, I don't really got a lot of money, but let's get a quesadilla. And I spent my last $10 on her. I'm like, here.
Wow. That's dedication. That's love.
She's an amazing person. So it's like, of course, any of your friends you would give your last to. Mm-hmm. So I was excited. I remember being excited that Dre wasn't going to be home so I could sleep on the couch as opposed to the floor. So I got back to the house. I laid on the couch, put my phone on the charger because I had a session with Little John from the East Side Boys that night.
Yeah, okay.
He's the greatest to work with, one of the coolest ever, but he was working at 12 at night that night. And I went to sleep, took a nap, woke up to 150 comments on Instagram. I had 3,000 followers at the time. So I'm like,
what picture?
Who died? I was like, what happened?
I would have been scared.
I was terrified. Yeah. And it was my sister Jazzy. I love her. Okay, she's Jazzy, an amazing artist, Jazzy. Mm-hmm. Jazzy's like, yo, that's my brother Ant. And they were tagging me in a Shade Room comment. It was a video of Kanye dancing to All Mine with my voice. And I was like,
wow, that's how you found out?
Via Jazzy's tag on Instagram. On the Shade Room. That's how I found out I was on Kanye's album.
Wow.
And I called my mom immediately, and I lost it. I started crying, and I was just super excited that, I wasn't going to have to sleep on that floor anymore.
Right.
And then for a whole another month, I had to sleep on that floor.
Wow.
Oh, God humbled me real quick. It was like, you thought this was going to happen, today? No, the song's out.
Overnight.
You not out.
Right.
It is a harsh lesson you learn. You have to pay patience.
Yeah. It's a learning process, I'm sure. But wow, number one, that's an amazing story to see everything come together for you in that way. So fast forward a little bit to, you end up finding out your vocals are on the song. People start noticing that's you. And you end up songwriting for a few other people. A few other people.
That's it, you got it.
You end up writing for a lot of other people.
Yes.
Working with some of the biggest people like Ty Dolla Sign, Jeremiah SZA, Wale, just to name a few. So what's, some of your favorite aspects when it comes to songwriting and working with other people?
Just being in the rooms with the people you've always dreamt of being in a room with. Ty Dolla Sign has met and exceeded my expectations of, one, just a person that's been in the industry for as long as he's been with just an amazing attitude, but just he's a real brother to me. He calls me and gives me guidance and pointers about things. And when we're in the same city, he's calling to check up and make sure I'm good places. Like, it's surreal to think that the guy I was listening to walking back and forth to Red Lobster and catching the bus turned out to be like a guiding light in my path.
Right.
So these countless experiences that I can't even begin to start to tell, to recall, but it's just like, SZA, amazing. You know, Big Sean, phenomenal. Kehlani is one of the nicest people I've ever worked with and calls me about everything that I'm dealing with in life. Like, I call a lot of these people that I've looked up to and have great conversations and get guidance from. Her, phenomenal. Like,
right.
Phenomenal artist, phenomenal soul to work with. Like, and I feel nothing but honored and blessed to be in a position, to be in a room with all these amazing talents.
Right. That definitely amazing talent, talented people who just have so much to offer. I'm sure you've picked up a lot of tips, gems, inside information about what it really takes to succeed as a songwriter, as an artist. Can you tell me and share what some of the tips might have been?
Just be honest and true to yourself. One of the first things I learned with being in a room with Kanye was he doesn't want you to be a fake version of Kanye. And
right.
These people don't want you to be fake versions of them. They want you to be authentically you,
right.
So that you can bring something to the table because they're already them. It's humbling when you're in a position, when you're in a place of service to someone else. And it's a big responsibility because you're sharing super intimate moments with strangers that you don't view as strangers, but by the end of it, you become friends and family because whatever it is in that song that you pulled out, you were able to go through that together. Mm-hmm. And it's such a cool experience, to say the least. Like, and I'm super grateful that God's allowed this to happen.
That's amazing. I'm happy for you. I know, playing off like the title of your most recent album, Happy to Be Here. Now you're transitioning into artistry from, being a songwriter to being an artist now. You're front facing, which is different than what you've been doing. So talk to me about that transition of, what skills do you need to be a songwriter? What skills do you need to be an artist? How do they mesh? How do they differ?
I think the difference between an artist and a songwriter depends on the person. I think they're all the same, if I'm not mistaken. Every job calls for different things. In songwriting, I might not have to be as done up as I'd need to be for like an interview. But in the space of performing for a stage, I might not have to be as mentally prepared as when I'm getting ready to work on a song to express emotions. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. They're both amazing mediums to express yourself. And I'm just honored that people even care to listen to somebody from Willingboro, New Jersey with an opinion. That was always my thing about being an artist, is that I didn't want to rush it and say, hey, I'm the artist and now care about me. So
songwriting was like your way in.
Songwriting was my passion,
right.
But also the thing that I was like, hey, maybe if people care about my songs and the thing that I do, they'll care about the person that does it too.
Okay.
That was just my thought process.
That's a good process to have.
Yeah.
When it comes to the songwriting process, I'm always curious about like how do you choose which songs you want to keep for yourself and which songs you want to give to other people?
You know when you know. It's a lot of selflessness that's involved, and you have to tell your ego to shut up a lot of the time. Especially in this new space of me transitioning into being an artist full time. It's like a lot of the things that I want to do for me as a songwriter, I know, this person would sound amazing. So it's having the ego conversation with yourself, like, is this really me? Is this our song? Or is this something that we were meant to write for the world? So having a egoless mentality helps. But your ego also helps you sometimes, especially when it comes to the performance and you just need it as the confidence builder. But it depends on the day and it depends on the song. Sometimes you're in the middle of a session for someone else and you end up writing the song for your soul. That's not to say that you don't still give that song away, but it is worth a conversation if it's what you were meant to do. So it's about being ultra honest with yourself at all times and having that mirror to mirror conversation. Like, is this me or is this for the world?
Okay. That's an interesting creative process to kind of, think about, especially now that you're in artist mode. I want to get into your project, Happy to Be Here, which was nominated for Best R&B Album at the Grammys this year. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
Oh, that's super dope. Like, for it to be your first project that you put out, Grammy nominated right out the gate. What was that like when you found out that you were Grammy nominated for that?
Kind of like the June 1st moment where I'm like
it's surreal.
Who died? Like, what happened? Why am I getting tagged like this? What's happening? And it was crazy. I just remember turning my phone on and seeing Gayle King announce Happy to Be Here, Ant Clemons. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Like, it's something I prayed for and waited for my entire life. And for it to happen at the time that it did was just so surreal, and just amazing. Like, even thinking back to the year that I'm nominated in is the year where Outside is shut down. So I put out a project in February by the grace of God. We were able to put it out, but I wasn't able to really perform it or do some of the things that, like a new artist is able to do.
Right.
But through all the obstacles, I was still able to get Grammy nominated. It's the greatest accomplishment, at least in my life, that I can think about right now.
Right. And you still have so far to go.
Yes.
Like, you're literally just getting started, I feel like. And, you've worked with the best. You've written for some of the most talented. You've got Grammy nominated. So where are some of your goals from here? What do you hope to accomplish this year and the next few years?
I have a whole bunch of artists I still want to work with, and I feel like my mark hasn't been made in music yet. So I want to strive to leave a legacy worth telling. But I have dreams and aspirations of doing a whole bunch of things. If I started to tell you about what I want to do, we'd be here for hours. I want to do an amusement park, and I want to do this, and an action figure series. And like, it's so many things that I believe in its right time, God will allow to unfold. But kind of just like at the beginning of the interview, I'm more of a shower than a teller. So I have a lot of plans, but I can't wait for you all to see everything that's coming out.
Okay. Is there anything that you could tell us that might surprise us about what you have planned?
I got a lot of stuff coming soon.
Okay, well, now that the world is open, do you feel like we're going to be seeing you soon in person at venues?
Absolutely. That's going to be super fun. We're getting dates and things together right now, but I can't wait for the live show. That's what I've been practicing
What kind of performer are you? Are you
going to
like
have to come out and see. Like, I'm one of my favorite performers.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting, considering we haven't had the opportunity to perform anywhere.
Yeah.
But you did say Michael Jackson was like your influence as far as performers. So you put on a show?
I would hope people come out and see that I put on the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm going to buy my tickets to support that.
Thank you for the support.
Yes, absolutely. I see the vision, and I know talent will take you very far. But as far as, this year, are there any artists or people in general that you want to work with that you haven't had the opportunity yet to work with?
I really want to work with Drake. I haven't worked with Drake yet, and I haven't worked with Kendrick yet. And I can't wait to work with those two, like, intimately, just have a conversation with them. I had been on a song that has Jay-Z on it, but I wasn't able to be in the room with Jay-Z when we did the song. And I would love to have a conversation with Jay-Z. And man, there's a whole bunch of like other artists, but just those three are the first ones I think about right now.
Okay.
I'm lying. I want to be in a room with Ed Sheeran.
Ed Sheeran.
Yes.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I'm definitely going to have to attend a show.
Come on.
See the energy in person.
You're going to have passes. Steph, set it up.
Oh, man. I'll be right there in line. But but thank you so much, Ant. It was great having you. I enjoyed this conversation, and I'm excited to see what's next for you.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Tallie Spencer. This is BlackStream Live. Make sure to follow and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.